Welcome back to the Valley Hoops Insider Podcast, part of the Valley Hoops Insider website. Harry Schroeder with you. That's Ben Jacobson, the head basketball coach at Northern Iowa. The University of Northern Iowa The Panthers are 4-0 at the beginning of the season. Ben, thanks for spending time with us. You're about to head to the left coast, so I appreciate you sneaking me in.
Yeah, you got it. Yep, good to see you, Harry.
Your 20th year, Ben, and 125 for the university. Those two numbers are both big numbers. Is it unique or is it special for you guys this year?
I don't know if those things really come into play, other than it's something that is being celebrated on campus and celebrated, in the athletic department, and very important milestones from that standpoint, from a university standpoint and from a program standpoint. And we had a get together this fall, and a lot of players, a lot of former coaches, former managers. Eldon Miller was in attendance, and
cool.
Always a highlight when coach is around and has an opportunity to be with his players and to be around the program and to have him up and talk about his experiences and what Northern Iowa means to him. And so that was really a fun evening for our program and everyone involved. I think you get to this point, you get through your September practices and your October practices, and now you're pretty locked into what's going on.
Just grinding now. Speaking of former players, Austin Fife has been, I just wrote it down so I wouldn't say it wrong, has been made the donor experience officer for the university. Talk about him. And so I guess he's now not part of your basketball staff either.
Correct. Yeah. He has been hired into a fundraising role within the athletic department and works directly with our athletic director and her staff. And it's a new position. I'm just newly brought on board and one that we've been working hard to get more people involved in terms of the engagement and relationships and working with people that are part of it to see if there are places that they want to do some more. And then also and for Austin being just recently graduated, and he working to go out and find new people that want to be involved, right? to get young people started, and that's a critical part of what we're doing and where we're at, Harry. We need to work hard to bring more people in. Hey? We've got great support, and we've got people that have been doing it for a long time. But it's our job as an athletic department, and as our head coach, my responsibility to go out and find that next generation and get younger people involved in what we're doing, so that we can move some things to the next place, and that'll be a lot of Austin's role, and he's him, terrific young guy, and really easy to be around. He loves being out and about, and being around people. So he's going to be great at it, right? And so yeah, I'm excited for him.
That's exciting news. You're 4-0 for the first time in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. What do you like? What are you concerned about? What do you see that you're excited about? And what are the things that you're still worried about? Worried might be the wrong word, but looking at strongly.
Yeah. Our on-ball defense has been better than it was in practice. Maybe we've done a much better job there. Our positioning away from the ball, our rotations, those have been good. But I've liked our on-ball defense. Something that we spent a lot of time working things fundamentally and building both ends from the ground up. And so I've liked the start of it with our on-ball defense, but at the defensive end we've been pretty sound. Our rebounding's just been okay. It wasn't very good in the first two. It was better in our last two, but something that needs to continue to get better. Offensively, I've over the last week to 10 days just talked to the guys about missed shot and turnover attack. Can we do more in the way of putting pressure on the other team in a real hurry? So we spent practice time each day here for, like I said, for a week to 10 days on that part of it. And the reason, Harry, is that we've got a high skill level up and down our roster. And you go up to Will and Tristan, the guys that are starting up front, Ismail and Kyle, the guys that are playing the positions at the 4 and 5 coming off the bench. Like, those 4 players are very skilled, and then our guards, of course, guys that can handle the ball and pass the ball and make some shots. But our skill level is good enough, and we've got enough length and guys with the ability to attack the basket and transition. Our big guys are able to, if we can get them to really run the floor, guys that are mobile enough to do it, and just put pressure on the team, immediately. So, I would tell you those 2 things. Our rebounding needs some improvement, and can we even do more on missed shots and when we create turnovers? Because this start has been, in terms of turnovers created and deflections, steals, turnovers created, this has been the best start that we've had as a team that I can remember. And I haven't gone back to look at numbers, but this is the best start that I can remember from that standpoint. So again, to emphasize to our guys, how quickly can we turn that into offense and put pressure on the other team?
Yeah, I was looking at your numbers, knowing you and I were going to be conversing. You got 4 guys, 3 guys in double digits, 2 more guys right at 10 points per game. But then I look up and down the lineup. Campbell's got 12 steals. Everybody's got 3 or 4 or 5 steals. You're creating those things and then holding people under 60. So defense has just been spectacular.
It has. It's been good. And this fall we emphasize deflections more than we have. I think part of that being the size and length that we've got. The positional size and length is good on this team. Trey's right at 6'4" and got some length, and Max is a bigger guard. Leon and Ben, tremendous size and length for guys that are playing at the 2 and the 3, and sometimes we've played the smaller lineup, so sometimes they're in at the 3 and the 4, but there's times where they're in together at the 2 and the 3. So, and then again, you go up front to Tristan and Will and Ismail and Kyle. Those guys are, they can move, right? And Tristan, he really, Will 2 games ago against Furman, and then Tristan in our last game, he came up with some really important deflections and steals that got us. It was I believe a 2-point game, and Tristan had a steal at the top of the floor, went down and dunked it. So now it's a 4-point game, and we didn't have to run anything, right? We didn't have to execute a play, and we didn't have to stop their possession because he stopped it before they got to their action. So, and we've had more of those, like as I mentioned, Harry, and what you're talking about. We've had more of those, the deflections and steals and some runouts, and that's my hope is that can continue. Right, it changes. You start to do those numbers and extra possessions, right? And you hear people talking about it all the time. That gives you a real advantage, right? I mean, if you've got 8 more, 10 more, 12 more chances at it in terms of extra possessions and shots at the basket, and that's going to come through rebounding. It's going to come through turnovers and or the other side of turnovers, and that's steals, of course.
The what goes into the secret sauce in making a lineup? When I see Ben Schweiger coming off the bench, and players care about being introduced at the beginning of the game, those kinds of things, but he's obviously being super productive off the bench. What goes into figuring out, this guy's going to be a little better for us coming off the bench versus starting and so forth? Because it's not about minutes. He's playing plenty of minutes, but talk about how you guys go about figuring that out.
Yeah, we tripped into this one, Harry, and I mean that we literally tripped into it in the way of Ben had an injury, and he was out for about 4.5, almost 5 weeks, right up to 2 or 3 days before our first game. He didn't play in the Upper Iowa exhibition game, and he got his first practices in around that time, so he had somewhere around kind of 2.5 to 4 practices when you added up what he had been able to do over the course of the week that led up to our first regular season game. So, during that time, of course, our lineup, you're getting your lineup ready. And Benny's, obviously he's a starter. Last year was terrific for us, and so one there where we didn't have to make the decision. Max was terrific for us last year as a starter. Leon was very good as a starter. RJ was starting early in the year, so in September when we get going, we had 5 perimeter players that had started for us, right? And we knew up front we were going to have 2 new starters with Titan and Huddy gone, and Will was going to be one of them, and then Tristan earned the other one. But in the backcourt, we had 5 players that had started for us, so in essence, then you've got a total of 7. And but Ben's injury really was what answered that question for us, right? And he's, I talked about it with my staff the other day. I just said, hey, what do you guys think? I hadn't asked Ben yet because he'd been playing well, and as you said, he's playing a lot. He's playing at the end of the half, and he's playing at the end of the game, and he's playing a lot. He's playing as a starter would, and as I mentioned, that obviously he is a starter, just not getting his name introduced. So he's been great. He has. He's been great. He hadn't brought it up, and he and I haven't touched on it just because he's doing so well.
Leon Bond has come back very successfully from his surgery, leading you guys in scoring. Good to have him back. Good to have him healthy. RJ, was coming back from injury as well, not getting quite as many minutes. Just talk about those 2 guys that are inserted back after injury from last year.
Yeah, RJ wasn't able to go live until after the 4th of July. He was out, but close to 7-8 months. And so his took a little bit, or quite a bit longer than what Leon's did. But both have been healthy now for a long time. RJ had a really good stretch to end the first half against Northern Illinois. And we were, I don't know if we were ahead a possession or down a possession, but we were up 3 at halftime, and he had a layup in there. He had a 3 at the buzzer, and had Trey had 2 fouls, and RJ played the last kind of 4.5 minutes of the half. So as a head coach, to know you've got a guy who can play long stretches. He can play 5-6 minutes at a time, and I know that we're going to play well. And so for me, the challenge with him is continuing to get him more. I'd like to have him out there for more minutes, than what he's gotten so far, and that's challenging. When you get Trey and Max and Leon and Ben, you've got 4 guys that are old. They're older guys, and they're good players. And so I'm working through that in my own mind because I know RJ's a very good player, and when he's out there, I know we're going to play well. Leon's been great. I'm just really proud of him. The adjustment last year, from Virginia to Northern Iowa, and I think you see it probably with more guys than not when they transfer. That you're at a new place, and there's expectations that you have for yourself. There's expectations that that the coaching staff and your new teammates have for you. There's expectations that your family and your coaches and your friends back home have for you. I think that's a part of this, right? And then also for Leon, he hadn't played. He played very little the year before, and that so now you got to get up and running again. And I thought he worked through that well, and was playing really well. Prior to getting hurt at the end of January there. So right now he's just his consistency, and he has had defensively he's been really good for us. Right? Super efficient on offense. Shooting, he put in a ton of time on that 3-point shot, and but just super efficient offensively. He's shown a lot of patience. He's our leading scorer, and he's shown a lot of patience, and that's been great. I know we've talked about him. He's unique in the way that he can do a little bit of everything. Right. And I think, I don't know that I think sometimes I probably throw that around with some of our guys over the years, Harry, but Leon truly is unique in that he can do a little bit of everything. And that's all the stuff that shows up on the stat sheet and some stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And there's just not a lot of guys that have the ability to do that with, and I think this is the most important part with Leon, combined with the confidence, to be able to have some patience, right? And not expect that everything gets run for you. And I've he's doing great. Yeah, he's doing great.
Every year we see in the Missouri Valley Conference, somebody comes from a Division II program or an NAIA program, and they do really well. And you guys brought Tristan Smith in, and so okay, this guy's going to be pretty good probably. Gosh, I didn't see this coming because I didn't know enough about him. Talk to us about Tristan Smith, who's really been a difference maker for you.
Yeah, that's been been huge for us, and we felt like when I first watched the film of him, and then talked with him and talked to his coaches and the people around him, just felt like, man, we got to do everything we can to get this guy on our roster. And that being based on the type of young guy he is, how hard he plays. When you watched him, you knew he was going to give everything he had on every possession. He's wired that way. So we did feel like, hey, we got to have this guy. Now, did not know what that would mean in terms of, is he going to start for us? Is he going to come off the bench? Felt like he would have a prominent role for us, right? And be a big part of what we're doing. But I would say he's exceeded, probably what I thought as well, in terms of the production and what he's doing offensively for us. But now after, being around him in the summer and, September, October, and now, having him with us playing some games, he's a hard guy to handle, because his first step, he gets by guys in a hurry, right? And then when he gets to the basket, he's so powerful, right, that he's going to be, he's able to get up and finish in traffic, and then he finds his way, like the play I talked about. He finds his way into a steal or loose ball pickup, and he's able to get himself to the other end. So I think the two things that have been so much fun to be a part of is experiencing how hard he truly does play on every single possession, right? And that impact goes far beyond the box score, right? And that's been great for our team. And then the other one, just the type of young guy he is. I mean, just terrific teammate and in the locker room, and so yeah, we did. We we got lucky there, but also intentional with what we're looking for, right? And he was the same. He was very intentional with what he was looking for. So he's been that's been fun.
We're like 16 minutes into the interview and haven't really talked about Trey Campbell. In the off season, you were telling me just looking for more and more leadership, vocal leadership from Trey. And obviously his numbers are fine. He's playing great defense, and he's scoring. He's having a good season on the floor. How's that leadership component going for Trey Campbell?
It's been great. One of the most rewarding, maybe the most rewarding part of being a head coach and being part of a program and a team is seeing young guys change and change in a meaningful way. And Trey has certainly done that over the last 2 years. And I think we talked about it, Harry. He didn't have to show as much in the way of communication and emotion last year, because Titan and Huddy did it. There was so much, you felt so much of it from those two players, that Trey was able to lead, example, and making big shots, key times. And he was a little more vocal last year than he was his first 2 years, but he didn't have to come all the way because of the leadership and that Titan and Huddy provided. So, now there's a void there when you get started. And so, just talking to Trey a little bit about it, that, and it's the same thing I know I've talked about with you before, is it's not about becoming Titan and Huddy and doing it the way they did it. It's about you taking on more responsibility, right? Because one, your team needs that from you, and two, you're certainly ready for it. And so that's a long way to get around to. He is much more vocal at practice. As we're getting started with practice, a little bit of bounce in his step and a little bit of emotion and more communication, and I just love that he's doing it his way, and so that's been fun to be a part of. And then The other thing that he's had to get used to right now, Harry, is being at the top of the scouting report. Talking about Titan and Huddy
Yeah.
a year ago, they were going to be, Trey was, going to be second or third, on the scouting report, depending on who we were playing, but he wasn't going to be first. That was going to be Titan. And so defenses have really come after him in the way of staying close to him all the time. His guy isn't helping much, so he isn't getting many easy ones that he may have gotten last year because of the attention paid to Titan. And then in the ball screen, they're sending two guys after him. They're going to make sure that he doesn't turn a corner or get it freed up for an open shot. So he's gotten a lot of attention so far, and so he's learning through that process and handling that well. But that's a new challenge for him, in addition to what you asked about in terms of his leadership. So he's off to a great start,
and still making 40% from deep. I guess he's playing all right.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
You're 4-0. You have UC Irvine coming up, and then you've got the Palm Springs thing, Palm Desert, Palm Springs. Talk about, we talked about being 4-0 and the things you're thinking about, but really important games coming up. This UC Irvine game, they're a top 150 team in the Ken Palm. You've got Loyola and maybe San Jose State or Tulsa in Palm Springs. Big important part of your schedule in terms of that postseason resume that we all worry about all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I love our schedule, and so the teams we've played to this point, Northridge won 25 last year, and they've got a number of new players, but they won 25 last year, and looks like they're going to win a lot of games again. South Dakota State has won 20 games, a lot of years in a row or close to it, right? Furman has been nationally, right? Has been a team that people know around the country, and I think they're going to win 20 games plus. Northern Illinois was a little bit sneaky the other night, Harry. He's got a brand new roster. I don't know that anyone is back, and they did a great job of putting that team together. And I know they got bumped at Grand Canyon in Wisconsin, but they're gonna win some games. A little different than the first three I mentioned in terms of just being established.
Right.
But now we go to the next part of it is Irvine has been a team that's won 20 plus games and been in postseason. Loyola has been in that situation. Tulsa and San Jose, pretty well established now. Their head coaches have been there for 3, 4, 5 years and established. And then Oakland, with one of the longest tenured head coaches in the country, and
Hall of Famer.
They always, Hall of Famer, and they always win. And Wichita State, and what they have done for a long time. St. Mary's is still on there. So I go through all of them because it's not the old Iowa State, one at our place, one at theirs, and the ones that get everyone's attention, or North Carolina's coming in here so Coach Williams can bring one of his guys back. It isn't those names, but when you do go through all of them, it's almost every single one of them are 20 win type teams or more. So that's where I say I love this schedule and the opportunity that we've got with it. Guys have done a great job. We've got enough older guys on this team, Harry, and Chase Corbett is one of our fifth-year seniors and a guy who hasn't played minutes for us other than at the end of some games to this point. But he's got he's been around here a long time, and he's around Titan and Huddy and around Ty for 4 years, and other players. You can go back 5 years ago, some of the guys that he would have played with and been around, and he's talked a lot about taking pride in protecting our home court, and some of those other things, but that being one of them. And so off to a great start that way. And now you get to go on the road and play against a really good team. So
when you go to play UC Irvine or you're in Palm Springs, are you able to seize time to go see the mountains or go, what will you guys experience in those places? Do you have an opportunity to do that?
Yeah, this is the first time we've gone to Palm Springs. I'd like to, when we take these trips, and we've been fortunate to go on a lot of the different ones, whether the Bahamas or Cancun or St. Thomas, last year in Disney. So on these trips, I've always wanted to. And most of them we've had an opportunity, whether it's a half a day or the better part of a day to go and do something. So I don't know quite yet. We won't do anything in Irvine. We get in there late tonight and Thursday night. we'll have our practice tomorrow and play Saturday. So we won't do anything there. We get over to Palm Springs on Sunday, and then we play on Tuesday. So, not quite as much time as some of the multi-team events that we've been to, but yeah, if we get an opportunity to do something on Sunday or Monday, we'll do it.
There's a great tram. You can go to the top of the mountain and see the whole valley and then come back down. It's pretty cool. I hope you guys have a good time there. Jake, before I let you go, there are a couple of guys that haven't played yet. I think of Dubrovich, and if I'm saying his name right, some of the others, Levi and some of the others. Status, are you redshirting any of those guys, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Jalen Wilson is a true freshman, and he is redshirting. Valdo, our young guy from Italy, is going to redshirt. Reddick Bourne is going to take a redshirt this year. We were going to redshirt Reddick last year, and with the injury to RJ and then Cale Schmidt battling that knee injury all year, we felt like we needed one more guy in the backcourt, so we pulled his red shirt, and Reddick played a little bit last year, so he is going to take a red shirt this year. And then Marino hurt his shoulder the other day, right? So we'll see. He's probably out here for a little bit, and he hadn't worked his way into the rotation. He was behind a couple of guys, so we hadn't seen him yet in any of the action for that reason. But then he did hurt his shoulder, so I don't know if we'll have him back in practice here, and at what point that would be. But the other three guys are going to redshirt.
It's nice when you can do that, in this day and hour, when people leave so often, when you can do something like that and really help develop guys, it's really huge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's continues to be the focus for us, recruiting high school players and development. And I love that we've been able to do it. That we've got 7 guys back that played and 11 guys back total. I think that's paid off for us in these early games, and I think it will continue to, Harry. But that's I know we're getting toward the end of our chat here today, so I don't need to go into a long answer about where college athletics is at and my feelings on it. The changes are fine. I got no problem adjusting to the changes and things that are good for the players and their families. I'm in favor of those things. But I'm in this to coach guys, right? And development that's the whole key, is where they're at. And Jalen Wilson, the conversation that I had with Jalen, the couple conversations we had, Jalen was terrific. And this you don't come across this as much right now as Jalen was looking at the big picture. As we talked through it, he's like, well, Coach, where am I going to be 5 years from now? Right. And I said, look, Jalen, it would be much easier and it would feel a lot better for me as your head coach, for you as the player, for your family, for all your friends back home that are excited for you. It'd feel way better if you were played in the South Dakota scrimmage and the exhibition game against Upper Iowa and got some minutes against Northridge, and that would be way easier. Because of the way the world is now. Everyone thinks that everyone should be able to do everything right now, right? That's not the way development works. And I said, yeah, Jalen, that obviously would be way more fun and be way more easier for all of us, right? But what I'm interested in is, where are you going to be 5 years from now, right? When it's really important that he wants to play professional basketball like a lot of these guys do, right? This year is about development, and I just really proud of Jalen and excited as a head coach to have that conversation with a young guy right now that was talking. He's like, yeah, Coach, I'm interested in being my best 5 years from now. I know I'm going to be a better player in that 5th year than I would be this year. And just really a great conversation to have. And because that's I could get going for a long time on this area. I love what we got going on. Our guys that came back and we've got a great team feel again this year with these guys, and the example that was set last year with Ty and Huddy and Cale and Trey and Leon and Ben and Will and all the guys that played, that have the choice to make, that said they're coming back, right? And because they care about each other, they want to take it a step further. They understand development. They're looking down the road about when their college days are, careers are done. where am I going to be and how ready am I going to be? Right? And so, yeah, I'm excited about all of those things with our program right now.
Appreciate your time today. We've done this a few times over the years, and I always appreciate getting to get educated and spend time with you. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Thanks, Harry. Great to see you.
That's head coach Ben Jacobson of the Panthers. They're 4-0 UC Irvine on Saturday, and then they head to Palm Springs. Folks, thanks for watching this particular interview and everything we do at Valley Hoops Insider. Remember, since you've been there, make it a better place. We'll see you again real soon.